So it'll be Thursday night, the 27th.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
more than 10 days. That's
Well,
four.
I'm leaving on Sunday afternoon.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So it'll be Thursday night. Well, yeah, the flight arrangements are insane. I mean, we're changing in Philadelphia with 5-hour layovers. It's just, but
Well,
yeah.
let's see. So you'll be back on the 27th. So I would say April 2nd, we're going to have a class on photography because we want to see your pictures. Take lots of pictures.
Okay, using an iPhone.
Yeah, of course. Of course you
Yeah.
are. All right. I have us live streaming, so we are on YouTube. I'll send the link later. So just be mindful of that. And we're going to go ahead and get started talking about digital backups and our digital afterlife. Um, this is pretty easy stuff, but pretty important stuff. Morning, Carlene.
Morning.
Hi. Oh, and Teresa. Hey, Teresa. So, backing up, what should you back up? That was a question.
Oh, everything.
Everything.
When in doubt, back it up.
Yes. How do you back it up?
How did I, or how do I? I was much better.
You jumped in the pool, so how do you back up?
How do I have flash drives, thumb drives, whatever way you want to call them.
Hmm.
I have backed up lots of things on that. Um, Now, I also, with Google, everything gets backed up for me. So I don't worry about it as much. There's not as many things that I need on a separate flash drive as I used to.
Hmm.
So
Okay, good, good. Anybody else? Linda.
Back up on Carbonite. It's a program that's on my computer and it backs up everything constantly. And when my computer crashed totally 2 months ago, I got every single thing.
And you had mentioned Carbonite before. Is it a cloud service or is it a program on your hard drive?
Probably a cloud service. I'm not really sure
Okay, all right.
because I pay an annual fee and it's just always there. So I don't think it's an app on my computer. It's a program.
Okay. All
How
right.
much, how much is the fee?
That's what we're going to look up right now. Do you remember, Linda?
No, I could look it up.
That's all right. We're going to look right now because
Okay.
you got my curiosity up again on this.
I
Um,
also do the cloud. Everything goes up. So I know it's going in the cloud. I didn't say the cloud.
okay. All right. So Carbonite backup and data protection for home or business, up to 40% off for users with 1 to 3 computers, plans, and features. Well, let's just see what the 40%. Oh, missed the darn, that little cookie thing went away quick. I was going to use that as an opportunity to talk about cookies. All right, it went away. So we're going to make this go away so we can see the page. Log in customer support for when your laptop drinks your coffee before you do. Ooh, automatic backup. Interesting web page. It doesn't say much at all to start with. Explore solutions. All right, personal. Let's look at that. Digital files. All right, $6 a month for the basic. Best value is $6.58 or prime 10.12. Let's see what these, well, that's funny. It goes away. All right, devices, one computer plus one hard drive. I thought it said for 3. Okay. Automatic, encrypted cloud backup storage. Backs up Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Adobe, photos and music for all of them. Doesn't automatically back up videos for the starter package. Access data, 120-bit 28-bit encryption. That's good. Windows. Okay, so does this mean it doesn't do Mac? You have a Windows computer, right, Linda?
Windows, yes.
Includes WebRoot. That's interesting. WebRoot is the one that I just got off of because I didn't like it. For the antivirus protection. Courier delivery. Wow, okay. 40% off. So 40% off. Oh, okay. So normally it's $132 a year. And now it's
I mean, it goes up to $132 after the first year?
good question.
Doesn't say year, first year.
Unlimited and automatic, secure. Find the right product. Answer a few questions. We'll recommend the best product. I'm sure they will. Unlimited uncrypted, flat price. Lets you restore with one click. Protects all types of files. I think it's interesting that it doesn't do Mac. I mean, doesn't matter to me, but it's kind of interesting. So cloud-based, and Linda doesn't have to think about it. It takes care of it because it's a program running all the time on her computer. So that's great. Who else uses any kind of backup on a regular basis?
I also use Carbonite.
Okay, great. And you're happy
And
with it?
I have for several years, and every time I've had to get a new computer or have a computer crash, they've been right there. Good customer service.
Good, good. All right. So that's one really good solution for any kind of backing up. Being that it's in the cloud, one of the things that I think about these days, because I'm so very comfortable with the cloud, I'm now concerned about whether or not things are getting hacked everywhere, basically. So my solution to that is to think about multiple ways to protect yourself, right? So if you're using, like Kathy was saying, she uses thumb drives or flash drives. These days, for the amount of data that we have, like back when we started doing this class in 2016, you didn't need a big thumb drive. Thumb drives were 32 gigabytes. 64 was a big one. Now you can buy them with terabytes. I mean, that's a huge amount of data. And so think about how much you actually have on your devices. And how do you know what's on your devices? Do you all know where to find what your storage is? We're going to go with computer since we're on a computer. So let me pull it up first so that I don't have to go back and forth with the. All right, now I should be able to share. Okay, so this is, of course, we're on my laptop here. Let me try and get rid of this little thing. On the laptop, you can see the green, you can see the box that says home, right?
Yes,
At the top. Okay.
yes.
So when we scroll down, these are my files. All I did was I clicked on the icon that looks like a manila file folder, and I'm going to go to this PC all the way down at the bottom. It's used to be at the top, and nowadays they just make things easy for what you use on a regular basis versus what you want to dig into. So we're going to go into this PC, and right there, super simple. My PC is called an Acer, and C is the hard drive, and it says I have 135 gigabytes free out of a total of 237. I've had this computer a really long time. And you can tell I'm mostly storing stuff in the cloud because I still have more than half. Well, it's funny, the graphic looks like I have more than half free, but the numbers say not quite half free. But still, I'll bet this computer is easily, oh, I don't know, 6, 7 years old. So that's where you're going to get it. So going back to how did I find this? I went on my icon on my computer that looks like a little manila file folder, and it says files and File Explorer. Clicked on that. That brought me to this, which then I click down on this PC and I can see exactly how much space do I have. Why does it matter to know how much space you have? Oftentimes, if you find that you're trying to do certain things, whether it's download stuff, put new programs on, or do other various things, if you don't have enough space, it won't allow you to. So it's a good idea. Does anybody remember back when we used to defrag our computers?
Mhm.
Because when we would store stuff, it's kind of like that little Tetris game. You'd have a block of data here, a block of data here, there'd be a block of data here, but there'd be a gap in the middle, and then there'd be here and here, and then there's a little gap. And so by defragging it, fragging meaning fragmentation, what we would do is basically just compress it down like a trash compactor. Just make it so that there weren't big holes in it all, and just make it so that it's all nice, tight data, and then you can put more stuff in. So, Terry had her hand up.
Yes. What am I doing when I, restart my phone? I go to like when I have when I have a new program, I go just download everything on my phone. It goes off and I come back on. The word for it is losing me.
Reboot.
Reboot.
I mean, in the computer world, it was reboot.
Okay. But on your phone, when you're turning it complete on and off, like when something goes wrong, you usually start by, I've always learned, is turn it on and off just to make sure it's not a connection, or when your email looks like it's wrong or something like that. So, but after that, when you get a little dot on your phone and it says you have to get a new program is being installed tonight, if you go to that same page and just do it, like if I'm gonna get an airplane, I'll just go through as if I'm getting a new program on there, and just, isn't that rebooting? Isn't that saving all that?
So you're talking about when you turn it off?
I've turned it back on and off, but just to get it started. And I go to in settings, I go to my name, and under there it says, to update your phones.
Hey, Renee and Andy.
You go to iCloud and it asks you, do you want to,
Restore? Are you looking at the restore?
okay, never mind, Betsy, I'm going to come back to
Okay. You let us know when you find it. It's okay. It's really hard to recreate on the spot. I get it. That's why I always say take a screenshot when you have an issue, because then you'll have it there. You don't have to remember what all the details were, because it does get confusing. So I'm gonna jump in and guess what I think you're saying is if you've put a new app on your phone. Is that when you put a new app on your phone, you do not have to restart your phone to make that work. Phones are amazing little devices these days. You literally, you hardly ever have to restart. I get a prompt about every 2 weeks to restart. And the restart, for all things is like when we do well, nothing's working, so turn it off and turn it back on again and see what happens kind of thing. I mean, it's silly and it's very untechnical, but it is what works. And what happens is that you restart it and magically wonderful things appear that you were missing. But you won't have to do that if you put like just a new app on. But you should do that on a regular basis. Like I said, I get a prompt every 2 weeks so that any updates, any new information,
That's
security
updates.
fixes, glitch fixes, all of those kinds of things come in when you do that.
That's what I meant, was I couldn't think of the word update.
Update. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Update it when it says, you're gonna get program 563 or whatever, that, the new program is. They'll send you tonight, your phone's gonna be updated. But you can go in and update your phone, and that's what I've done, like before I
Yes.
go on a trip or anything like that, just for my own. I feel like
Yes.
I'm pushing a button and it's taking a couple minutes and Apple comes on the screen, I'm cool. But is that saving it any more or less?
It's actually a good idea, Terry, because oftentimes, even though, and I don't understand why, because so much of this stuff really works good most of the time. If you have automatic updates selected on your settings, which you always should have automatic updates selected on everything you use that's digital, because that's always going to give you the best version of whatever it is that you're using. And sometimes, even though that is true, it doesn't actually work that way. And like I said, I have no explanation for that. I can certainly research it because it's one of those little life conundrums that bugs me. I'll make a note so that I do it, auto update. Because I do get these prompts. Like I said, about every 2 weeks, it says you haven't restarted your phone lately. You should do that now to get the best, brightest version of everything. And so I do because Google says to, and so that's what I do. But it works for everything. Now, iPhone users, fill me in. Are you still required to be plugged in, charging and connected to Wi-Fi to get the updates? Jackie says yes. Okay.
And I
all right.
don't get prompts.
You
Well,
don't
I
get
do.
prompts.
Yeah. No, I do when it's available, but not just an automatic to turn it off, just when there is an update available.
Okay. So you will get a prompt when an update is available.
Yes.
I get some, because I'm not getting Apple prompts because I don't have any Apple anything. But I do, because I subscribe to a lot of different tech newsletters, get information about, oh, here's a new one, Apple users, you should do this now. Are you not getting the prompt right away?
I
for
never,
that?
you never get one.
I sometimes hear from you before I get the prompt.
Interesting.
But
And
I do get automatically backup. I went to iCloud Plus and it says that the phone was backed up 10 hours ago.
Yep.
I didn't do it.
Yeah, what were you doing 10 hours ago, Joyce?
Plugged the
So,
phone in and I went to sleep. Right.
so that's interesting to me because I remember that, I don't know why this one stuck out in my head. I guess it was the first major Apple issue that I became aware of as a non-Apple user. We were actually talking about it when we were in the library, the Key Largo library class. And Martin, you might have been there where we were talking about the Apple hack that happened, and Apple very quickly sent out the fix for it. And it was actually related to international espionage that had hacked Apple. And so Apple, quickly, and that just, raises my respect for Apple. Is I do love the fact that they are on top of their stuff and they're excellent at customer service to make sure that their people know that they need to do things. So even though it's an automatic updates, automatic fixes for things, this one, they just got the word out real quick and said, you need to do this now before the automatic update happens. And so it was kind of like an emergency thing. So, Amy, and my ukuleles have grown flowers. Whee! It's to keep the dust out of the chambers. I thought it was a fun way to do that. So anyway, so the with your updates, checking on your settings, making sure automatic is happening all of the time, turning off and turning back on a PC is how an update is going to happen. So on Kathy's shaking her head because while she's Mac everything else, she does have a PC, and you know that when you go to your power button, which honestly I don't do very often because all of my other newer devices don't require me to do it, but it will, on the power button, it will show me, and I don't know, yeah, if I click the power button, my choices are lock, sleep, shut down or restart. And generally speaking, it's going to be, if there's an update available, there's a little orange dot on my shutdown. And so it'll say it's going to shut it down for me. Don't touch it, let it do its thing because it's going to do the updates, which hasn't happened in a while. It's kind of interesting. Even though, it's set to automatic, this one takes a while. I'm not sure why that would be on a PC. Kathy, any thoughts on that?
I don't know, but mine also says, like when I'm logging off, it'll have update and shut down, update and restart. So you've got the restart button. Usually I always do shut down and shut down. Update and shut down. I don't think I haven't had on my computer, mine's 9 years old, so it's like creeping along, and there's things happening that I think it's just not able to update anymore. It's not able to do the things it needs to do.
Yeah. Which is why you're half-heartedly shopping for a
And
new
shopping,
computer.
right, exactly. It's
All
like
right.
I gotta dive in. Just somebody's got to push me off the diving board,
Maybe we should have a field trip to go look at computers.
Oh, wouldn't that be fun?
Oh
Few of
yeah.
us that-
Only if I can come too.
Yeah.
All right, so what I'm going to do, I was getting rid of that little screen. Now we're going to go to what I wanted to talk about with digital backups. Hopefully this thing will go away. There we go. All right, so you can see my screen, New York Times, how to do digital backups. Yes?
Yes.
You can see this? Okay. So basically, this is going to give you a step-by-step notice that it is more than halfway down the article. If you look all the way on the right-hand side here where my cursor is and the little indicator button. So it's goes, first part is all the way through what should you back up and what should you be thinking about. And these are things that aren't necessarily stuff that we would have on our computer in the first place. But this article is really talking about if something gets hacked in a bad way, and not you personally. It's talking about when other things get hacked. So I'm going to send you the link to this. It is a little political in the first paragraph or so, so just ignore that if that's not your thing. But get to the good part of it, which is looking at the things that you should back up: your medical files, your wills, your documents, your Social Security, your mortgage if you have one, all of those things that would be devastating if that information went away or was hacked and messed with so that it was no longer accurate. So that's what the first part of this article is. But the part I really wanted to look at here is how to actually do your digital backups. And it starts out with, if you keep your files online in a server with Google Drive or iCloud, you might want to consider backing up the supercritical stuff to a separate cloud server or your computer's hard drive. Now, computer hard drives, of course, can get hacked. Probably not as common as something, like you aren't going to be targeted per se. What hackers want these days are value. So they're going to do major hacking that's going to get them lots of data, which equates to lots of money. So by having your stuff backed up on your hard drive, that's pretty good. Backing up on the cloud is your first step because that's just an easy way to get all of your stuff. Using a server like Linda and Linnell uses for Carbonite are good with Carbonite because those, I presume, are going to have serious security on them. I can't imagine that a company that you're entrusting your stuff to isn't going to have some serious security measures. And that's what you're paying for. You're paying for serious security measures. Like, should everybody do great security? Yes, absolutely. But sometimes you get what you pay for. And both of these two customers in the room said that they've used them for years and they're very happy with both customer service. This isn't an ad for this. I have no experience with Carbonite, just saying these two are very happy. That is literally an alternative cloud backup, right? So you either have it in Google or you have it in iCloud. That's where all of our stuff goes these days. You don't know it, you're not paying attention to it if you're not that tuned into it, but it's there. If something were to happen to either one of those, then what? Then all of your stuff has been hacked. So Linda and Linnell have theirs in another server, an alternate cloud. You can use multiple clouds. You can use things like Dropbox and I don't know, I'm drawing a blank. There are many other anybody tell me another cloud server that you use besides iCloud, Google, or Dropbox. Anybody use anything else?
Do the phone
Okay.
companies like AT&T? I know somebody that had gotten some kind of AT&T cloud. The phone
Okay.
companies don't have.
So for instance, I know some people who have an email address that is blah, blah, blah at bellsouth.net, right?
Yeah.
So BellSouth is their provider. And so they're also going to have backup for what's going through their digital world. So yeah, AT&T, same thing, I assume. So yeah, so there are multiple kinds of cloud servers. But then honestly, to be truly, truly safe, doing what Kathy does or going even further down that road of having an external backup. So we were talking about, you know, she has the little flash drive. This is these days, oh, this one won't even come off. It's the typical, you know, USB old style. There it goes. You know, this type of thing that has to fit into your device. Well, nowadays, and this is super old, nowadays they come with this kind of connection, right? Which is that universal USB-C connection that is, I can plug this into my phone. So those of you who have older iPhones that still have the older iPhone plug, those are going away. If you haven't already gotten a new phone, know that we now can all use the same charging cord and don't have to have multiple cords except for our older devices. Amy, they're finally getting on board with all the Android users and using that cord instead of the Apple cord.
Wonderful.
So my husband was actually, we were somewhere public and he was standing there giving away his old iPhone cords to people. What kind of iPhone do you have? And he'd be giving it to just completely strangers. Like,
I used
okay,
them.
dear.
I used them
So,
for gift wrap last week.
what's that?
I used them for gift wrap last week. I wrapped all these gifts and used them as the bow, and somebody wanted it, or they threw it away.
That's hilarious, Terry. I love it.
It was
So, anyway, so now when you're going to get a flash drive, you're going to get one that's going to fit in all of your devices. So literally you could plug it into your phone and you could download the stuff that's on your phone. Now, let's just talk about that for a minute. As a Google Pixel phone user, everything I do is Google. And so when I have a problem with my phone, I may go to my computer, log on to Google there and check it out there, or I may go to my tablet and check it out there, just like Mac users and iPhone users, everything across the board should be synced so that you can go from one device to the next and it's all still there. Same thing with Google, but I don't, let's see, in my computer, had to check, I know it's old, I still have the old kind of, you know, connection like this. So I could use one of these in my computer, but I couldn't use one of these in my phone because there's nowhere to plug it into. You can also get an external hard drive, which if you have a lot of data, that might be something that you want to consider. That's going to be a much bigger thing, a chunkier. It's not something you're really going to, you know, carry around in your pocket. But certainly, you know, I would think about this when I was living in the Keys and had to think about evacuations. I had my go box. I had my box of the things that absolutely, if the house were on fire, I'm still going to grab that box because it has both the insurance papers and some heirlooms that I wasn't, willing to leave behind, and my digital backups. So you want to make sure that you have something where you can, yeah, you can just grab your computer now if you're running out in an evacuation, and that's actually kind of an easy thing. But what if, heaven forbid, you are hacked, then you want to have your original stuff stored at least weekly, a weekly backup onto a, hard external device is a really good idea. Having Carbonite is the next best idea. I mean, I trust that Carbonite is going to give you what you pay for in protecting your stuff because you've had great experience with that. Linda, you had your hand up?
Just only because we're on this subject, but when my computer crashed, I got everything back except a couple of programs that I had on old CD. And those programs, since the CDs no longer work on my new computer, doesn't exist, and those particular programs, once upon a time you could buy the CD and you had the program forever, and now you can't. You have to keep paying for it. So those are gone. So be cautious of those if you have that kind of thing. They're going to be gone if you crash. And then you have to start paying for the program and buy it and get it.
I wonder, that's a really good caveat. I wonder if you had it stored on an external hard drive. If
I've
that
been
would,
told I could do that.
I think that would be a solution to that because it's literally the same thing that you did when and I know you're talking about, that's where my Microsoft, programs are. I don't use Word anymore because I have to pay for it. And I'm like, I've paid for this many times. I don't think I should have to pay for it. I did find a workaround for that if anybody wants to know about that. But yeah, you can't put the disc. You can't put any discs in anywhere now because they're no longer discs. They're things like this that you're going to plug in. This is the new disc. We've come a long ways. And so I think if you had an external one, it would be the same because you're copying the hard drive that's in your computer that stores all of your data. It's like literally taking that and just making a carbon copy of it. So it seems like it would. And I'm thinking maybe Carbonite is only storing the data.
Yes, only the data, not the program. I had to reload all my programs.
Gotcha. Interesting. So how did you do that?
It was easy. You go to the website of whatever program, which I can't think of what. Well, Quicken, for instance.
Okay.
And as long as I had my data, I had no problem. I just reload the program.
Gotcha. So basically what you're doing, sorry, this sun is just, it's lovely and it's blinding me. So
I'm
basically
getting the same thing.
you had all of your data, you went online and you literally just logged into whatever it was.
Yes,
Because it was all cloud-based. Okay.
very easy to do. Yeah.
Nice, nice. All right, so let's go back to my little article here for a minute. And so we were talking about the Google Drive and the iCloud Drive. Let me move this slowly. So to make a quick local backup, and it's going to tell you exactly how to do it, telling you to sync your files as well with your hard drive and your cloud apps. And there are links for that. So I'm not going to go into it here in class. You're going to get this article, and I want you to go ahead and just, if you're interested in learning more, just click on it there. All right. Box, Dropbox, Microsoft 365, personal storage. See, it seems like there used to be a lot more, but maybe some of those have gone by the wayside. So it's talking about another cloud service to use for that. Talking about it with Apple iCloud, it says does not integrate as easily with other backup services. but it tells you how to get around that. Also password protection. All right. Then there are also, here we go, software and portable drives. So it's giving you some options for either Windows or Apple Time Machine for Mac to back up to an external hard drive. So that's going to be the easiest way to do that. There's some suggestions on ones that you can buy that they really like. Simple, inexpensive flash drives are about 30 bucks for critical folders. So flash drives are going to be smaller data boxes for you, unless you get something that has like a terabyte in it. And a terabyte is not going to cost $30. A terabyte's probably, my guess is going to be over $50, but we'll look that up. All right, paper documents. Talking about doing actual paper documents because some people are dealing with wildfires and things like that. So having safes, boxes that you can have that are fireproof, waterproof, something that's 1500-degree fire for 30 minutes. Those are good things to know about, particularly because I know that you all share information that you hear in this class. So having that information to share with somebody who, lives somewhere else that might be dealing with things like wildfires on a regular basis, you might want to share that information with them, our kids, our grandkids, that kind of thing. Now, I also wanted to share, and I'm going to pull it up before I get there. All right. This, in that article, what we were at the very beginning part that we didn't look at, which you can read on your own time. Whoop, put this back up. There was talking about the types of things that you should back up. And in that was a link that I thought this really probably isn't going to apply to folks in class. Guess I should check the chat. Interested in what you used in Word. Okay. And Kathy left. Okay. So remind me, Amy, just put your hand up and remind me about that, because I do want to talk about that. So sorry, got distracted. So I don't think that this is going to apply to you all as much, but I think it might apply to children and grandchildren, and that is budgeting apps. First of all, does anybody in the room use a budgeting app? You do. Okay, what do you use, Linda?
And Quicken.
Quicken, and what was
budgeting, right? Quicken.
budgeting? Yeah.
Quicken. And QuickBooks, both.
I didn't know you could use those for that.
Oh, yes, definitely.
I always think of them as, financial management programs for nonprofits and businesses and filing taxes. Okay, cool. That's good. And you were the only one, which was kind of what I thought would be the answer in this group, is that most of us don't use budgeting. There's some generational gaps in budgeting. I'm quite astounded when I talk to younger people, and I'm talking about people my daughter's age. She's 37, 36, 38. She's somewhere in there. And she's a whiz. She's brilliant. And she doesn't budget well. She doesn't really have the concepts of budget. People younger than her seem to have less concepts of budgeting, which is interesting to me. So I took one of those links that we were looking at, and I went down through that link to look at budgeting apps. And it said, this one here says, Mint, the budgeting app is going away. Here's some alternatives. And I'm like, I never heard of Mint. So, I'm not crying about this, because I don't use a budgeting app either, but apparently it is useful. Plenty of people don't bother with the tools, but if you know people who could benefit from this, so there we go, there's Intuit, which bought Mint and now is shutting it down, so that's interesting. Trying to move its users to Credit Karma. I do use Credit Karma. It's known for its credit scores. but it lacks some of the budgeting tools that appeal to Mint users. But there is a whole list: Copilot, Monarch, lots of ads, Pocket Guard, Quick and Simplify, Rocket Money, Tiller. I think these are alphabetical, formerly known as You Need a Budget. These all cost, which I
Yeah.
also found interesting. That you have to kind of budget that cost into your budget when you're budgeting and learning how to budget. Just saying. But for people who don't know how to budget, it would actually probably be a really, really good tool, particularly for, that's not the kind of education that you just get organically. You don't get it in school. You don't get it in college. I mean, that's kind of that life school skills kind of budget. Honestly, I learned it in home ec. And I don't know what schools offer home ec anymore, but I did learn it in home ec, so that shows my age. But where do young people learn it? And maybe that's why they don't learn it, and maybe that's why there's some struggling with finance and money. So if you know somebody, like I can take Terry's grandkids, they're at the perfect age to start learning that type of thing, whether they, want to or not, but it's a great tool. Having a budgeting app for a much younger person or for an older person, aka my daughter's age, who's struggling with those things. So I'm going to send you that link as well, for the budgeting apps, just because it was an interesting sidebar that I took. Linda.
Are you mostly talking about saving?
Well, no, I'm talking about so some conversations, I'm really reaching out to a lot of young people in my community these days, trying to bridge some generational gaps. And I'm astounded when people tell me that they had to give up their car because they couldn't afford it and they're working 2 jobs. So that tells me there's some serious gaps in understanding money flow and how to take what you bring in and distribute it so that you have a good life, basically. I mean, in a very simple form. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, savings is icing on the cake. And I think that I grew up with a savings mentality because my school, once again, we had this savings program where every week we could put some pennies in an envelope and they put it in the account in the local bank. And so at the end of the year, we were like, here's the money that you saved. And it was like, wow, I didn't know I could do that with just, some extra pennies from my lunch, and how it added up. And I do remember the interest was about 3% back then on a savings account, which I'm like, why isn't it that much anymore? But, that's something that we did learn in school, was that kind of thing. How many kids have a savings account? Okay. How many people's grandkids have a savings account?
College fund, is that that's not their savings,
Right.
right? Okay.
I'm not talking about what is the parent
Got it.
doing for the kid. What's the kid doing? Sandra, what were you saying?
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have any kids. I
Oh, okay.
misunderstood what you said.
That's okay.
Okay.
So, Terry?
They have been using credit cards since they were young, but somebody else put the money in there for them. Like they knew how to manage that or when they could when they're going to get money in again. But it still was, if they bought everybody pizza, they knew their dad was going to put money. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And that is a good tool. A lot of parents do use the credit card as a tool, and I think that's an excellent tool. Putting the money in for starters is a good thing, but I think a better tool, not judging here, but I think a better tool is then having them really understand the concept of where does money come from. Like we used to get allowances, right? I'd have to do a certain number of things around the house or the yard or whatever, and that would be an allowance. And that allowance was mine to do what I wanted with. And if I put that into my savings account, you know, that makes a lot of sense to me. Having that direct correlation to if you do this, then you get this. That's how the world works, you know, with money. So it makes sense to me. Maybe they have that arrangement and you don't know it. Maybe. I don't know. It's good to ask, you know. So what did you do for the money? Anyway, so let's get into digital afterlife now that we're kind of talking about families. So, digital afterlife is what are you going to leave behind for your people to deal with, either in a positive or a negative way? Have you made arrangements? We are often geared to thinking about, okay, you know, I have a will and I make sure that, you know, my mother's silver spoons goes to so-and-so and my, you know, this goes to someone else and this goes to someone else. But what do we do about our digital life? Do we make sure that all of our passwords are accessible to someone, for instance? I can't tell you how many people at the Joy Center have actually started coming to the Joy Center because they had a computer program problem that they couldn't get into because their somebody passed and didn't leave them any of the information about how to get into their computer. Zero information on how to get into their computer. That's a super, super challenging one, because if we mostly have digital lives now, you know, everything from our social security to our bank accounts to our credit cards and all of that is all online, and our digital backups are all online, then how are the people, you know, it used to be you'd have this box, and or you'd have a safe deposit box, or you'd have various ways for people to get access to your paper. But now most of us don't have a whole lot of paper. You still have some paper backups for stuff, but a lot of this stuff isn't paper. So it's going to exist out there forever unless someone does something about it. How are you going to help them? And have you made a plan to help them with that? You know, everything from your emails to your social media accounts, those things too. So there's an article I'm going to send you that goes into that in great depth. But I first wanted to know, does anyone have some plans? Have you done something to help your kids, your grandkids, your nieces, your nephews, whoever's going to have to deal with your stuff after you're gone? Who has a plan about their digital stuff? Linda.
Well, I don't have an actual plan, but I make sure that I send all my passwords and all my information to my son so that he can access what I have.
Good. That's about, besides cleaning out your file cabinets and your tchotchkes, that's one of the nicest things you can do for your kids as we start to, you know, get closer to the time when we won't be here physically. Because, you know, I look around this room and I go, well, all this it matters to me, but boy, is this going to be a headache for my daughter, because I know 100% she doesn't want any of my books. She doesn't have any books at her house, and she's an avid reader. She loves to read, but she doesn't have books. She does it all digitally now, you know? And so why would I, you know, need to keep all of this stuff? Well, I'm still using it, and it's going to be here for a while, but I keep downsizing, downsizing, downsizing. What other things have people done to be helpful to the next generation? Jackie, you got one?
How about the legacy on your iPhone? The legacy.
Have you done that?
Well, I've tried, Betsy. I thought I had it done, and I'm looking for it right now. But then, okay, where is it? I do this. I went through the process, and then it didn't. I obviously did not complete the process. But I did tell my daughter about it. She said, I don't know what you're talking about. And she's savvy. You know, it's like she's always going, Mother, you can't die yet until you have all this straightened out. I also have a book that says, I bought it. Is it filled out yet? No, I'm dead. What do I do? What do you do now? it's a great book that has everything, a place for all your accounts, blah, blah, blah. And
Nice.
I don't know if I think the minute I fill that out, I'm a goner. I have no idea, but
Oh my. Okay. So
I like
I'm writing that down. I'm dead. What do I do now? Is that
yeah, I think
what do
that's
you do now?
what do you do now? Right.
Okay.
You think that would be a good
Or it
class?
says what next? I think it's I'm dead. What next? Or
I'm dead,
something.
what next?
I'll find it.
Okay. I've heard of it. Terry,
Do you think that should be a class? That sounds like a good class to me.
it does sound like a good class. I don't think it's a tech class,
Yeah.
but we're sort of
No,
touching
no,
on
no.
it
I
here.
don't think it's a
Yeah.
tech class, but I think it's a good if people did it together or
Absolutely.
each other.
Well,
it might get us to fill them out.
All right.
Hey,
Yes,
Yep.
my daughter's father-in-law died suddenly Christmas, and they're trying to help their mother do all of these things. So she's giving me hints. This is what the lady had no idea about this. So it's a very monumental task for this couple to go through.
Yeah, it is. It is. And there's just the emotional stuff that's attached to all this stuff. The fact that your kids say, I don't want to deal with this now because I don't want you to leave,
Right.
and that's tough for them. And I think that this is just a personal opinion, but I think not talking about it doesn't help.
I
with it.
know.
I think, for me, I think, I've mentioned to my daughter and to my nephews, several times about, the fact that there will be a point in time when, I'm not going to be around. And so would they like some of this stuff? Mostly not, but there are a couple of things. But we're going to talk about Apple first. Sorry, Amy. And then we'll talk about your, Android. So I just Googled, because I went to Scott's iPad and I just went into settings and I typed in legacy and didn't get an answer. So I
Right.
went to support.apple.com, how to add a legacy contact for your Apple account. A legacy contact is someone you choose to have access to the data in your Apple account after you're dead. Learn about information that's shared with your legacy contact, starting with iOS 15.2, iPad 15.2, and Mac 12.1. You can add a legacy contact for your Apple account. It's the easiest and most secure way to give someone you trust access to your data. It goes on. It's a fairly involved article, which I will obviously send to you so that you have it. And you must have, so it says, what do you need to make this happen? It tells you the devices, and I just told you 15.2 or 12.1 for a Mac. Two-factor authentication must be turned on for your Apple account. So if you haven't gotten around to two-factor authentication, not for this reason, but for security reasons, make it happen, please. Make sure you have two-factor authentication. Apple users, Android users, everybody, you got to use that these days. And then it tells you exactly on your iPhone or your iPad, go to settings, tap your name. Oh, that's where it's going to be. Okay. So settings, I tap his name, and then it says tap sign in and security. This says password and security. I'm doing this for Apple folks totally blind. I've never done this before. Okay, and then tap legacy account. And there it is, legacy contact. And let's see if he's done it. He has. Good husband. He has me twice, and he has our daughter. So that's exactly what I have on my Google account, which is I have him and I have our daughter. So that's exactly how you're going to do it. I will send you this article.
Okay.
And then it tells you how to do it on your Mac. If you're in a family sharing group, you can choose a member of the group. You can share the access key with your legacy account.
I need to set up all these things.
how you can remove a legacy contact if something happens to, let's say that I have my husband listed and he develops memory issues and he is no longer capable of dealing with any of that, then I would want to remove him from that and designate somebody in addition to my daughter. It's always good to have two. So I'll be sending you that. Let me just,
Betsy,
yeah.
Are you sending
could
this
I
to
add
all of us?
something?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Who asked?
Could I add something while you're doing that?
Yes.
We all think in terms of these legacy programs for us because we're seniors and we know what's in the future for us. Unfortunately, our younger people are also at stake, have a situation, family situation now where one of our young people is in dire straits, and who knows where the paperwork and all of that is. So unfortunately, this is something we probably should be speaking about with our children too.
Very true. And you know what, Linda, that might help also take some of the sting out of the conversation in thinking about losing you. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously, when you have a situation with your family where young people get cancer, and we lose young people all the time for a variety of reasons, sadly, but having those conversations, I think on this level where it's a very functional level, something that we should do this just like we should, wash our dishes after we're done using them. These are just things that we should do in a very matter of fact way, taking away some of the painful emotional part out of it. And you're very right. That's very, very good idea of what we should do. All right, so in Android, in Google, if you're an Android user, it says it's called Google Inactive Account Plan. So it checks with me every couple of months to make sure that I want to still do this. And it says you're receiving this email because you set up a plan in case you stop using your Google account. And here's what happens. In Google, and any Apple user, of course, who has a Google account can also do this. So you can have two plans. This says, if you haven't used your account, after 2 months of your last activity, we will notify first my primary email and then my secondary backup email. After 3 months of not using my account, Scott Based will be notified and Larissa Based will be notified. And it is from myaccount.google.com inactive, and I'll send you that link. So that you can
read all this stuff.
Yeah, so you can set it up and make sure that you have everything in place. And Google is very specific, like in Apple Legacy, it just tells you you're going to nominate who that person is. In Google, it's exactly what stuff are you going to share with them. So if there are things that you just really don't want to share with anybody, you can choose not to. In terms of the Google account. With the Apple one, basically it's going to give that designated person everything access to your Apple account. With Google, you can separate some stuff out and say, this is a part of my life I don't ever want to share with you. Some of us have skeletons, in our closets. Jackie's laughing.
We all do.
All right, so we're just about out of time here. I've got a lot of stuff that I'm going to be sending you. Sandra, do I have your email? Did you get last week's?
I don't, I think I must have because I
You got
clicked
it,
on,
yes.
yeah,
Sandra LMT. Got it.
yes.
And I
but I
had forgotten that you were a massage
No, it's
therapist.
up here.
Oh, a long time
Right
ago.
there, the top thing.
I was also wondering, I don't understand what carbonite is or
Yep.
what I maybe missed that or
That's
whatever.
okay. So carbonite, yep. See you, Amy. Oh, discuss Word another time. Tell me really quick, what was it?
You said that you have some
Yeah.
other, something
Yeah,
else and
all
you
you
don't
have to
pay
do is
for it.
go online to Microsoft 365, and you
Okay,
can, as long as you have a Microsoft, username and password, you
okay.
can use Word there,
Oh,
which is
thank
kind of
you.
interesting. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right. Bye. See ya. Renee had your hand up. She's unmuting, I think.
Muted.
Hopefully she's not talking. I can't see your mouth, so I don't know if you're talking, but unmute yourself. There you go.
Can you? Okay, yeah. We have guests from your neck of the woods here visiting from Kernersville, North Carolina,
Oh, wow.
near
Nice.
Winston-Salem, Greensboro. So
Awesome. Awesome. I'm about 5 hours
I know we've been
west
to
of there, but
Franklin before,
oh, nice. Nice.
so we know where Franklin and all those little towns are.
And next time any of you are in Franklin, I certainly hope that you are going to let me know that you're coming. We can at least
Yeah,
grab a cup
Andy
of
wants to go
coffee.
ruby hunting.
Yeah, there you go.
And okay, that was it.
All right, Jackie, question? Did you have your hand up? Okay. Sandra, Carbonite is a program, a company and a program that will do digital backups for you constantly. So correct me if I'm wrong, Linda, or Linnell left, but Linda, so it's your stuff is always backed up. You don't have to do anything. It's a program that takes everything that you've got on your computer and is going to put into its secure cloud system so that, and I know this happened to Linda fairly recently, her computer died. She couldn't get into it. And even though she is an Apple user and she has a PC, correct?
Right.
You use a PC, so she is also a Windows user. So her stuff would have been backed up both in Apple and probably, well, what do you use from your Microsoft? Do you use the Microsoft Cloud? Linda?
I'm using Chrome now, if you're asking about a browser.
So then Google is backing up our stuff, but also Carbonite is that third party that's their sole job in life is to protect her data and keep it so that if she needs it, she can have it back on a new computer with very little effort.
Betsy, is there a way I can turn us off and you can continue?
No, I'm gonna go. We're done.
Okay.
We're done. We just had those 2 questions. Does that make a little more sense? And Sandy, Sandra, I will send you the link to that.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, guys.
Thank
Have
you,
a great week.
Betsy. You
Email me
too.
your questions if you have anything that we want to talk about next week. I don't know. I don't know what we're going to talk about next week.
Surprise.
Surprise.
Thank you.